Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another segment of Asaph Cafe. I am your host, Asaph Adonai, and we have Mr. Scott Ranf with us today, who's going to be on the cafe. He is the host of Wake Up Missoula. And what is your other title here at the studio?
Technical director.
Technical director, yeah, that's it. Okay, cool. Well, guess we can make this kind of short today. It's 20 after on the dot,
Nope.
so...
And today me and Asaph just celebrated our 2-year anniversary on Facebook, I guess.
That is correct. It was this very day, or was it yesterday?
It was today, I guess.
Today, that's right. Yeah, that's right. 2 years, and then yesterday was Noel.
Yes, and then a week before was your first time on our show.
That is correct, yeah.
So, yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, time just flies, doesn't it?
It totally does.
Well, I'm going to do this familiar song here. This song goes way before your time, you know. It's called This Guy's in Love with You. I'm trying to update some of my material here, you know. Stop right there instead of doing it all the way through.
Hey, it's your show. You can do
whatever you want. Well, I'm working on some new stuff like Miley Cyrus, her Wrecking Ball. I'm trying to figure out how to do a piano version of that.
Good luck.
Yeah, it's something like this.
That'll get the audiences.
You recognize this part?
Yeah, I totally do. And then you should do like those panta playing.
I'm trying to work out the
It's really good.
on that.
Maybe if you go lower an octave.
Yeah, I'll cover that. Something like this. Something like that. I'll figure it out.
It sounds good so far. I like
it.
Yeah,
just a little piano version. Yeah, I'm trying to get more.
If you recognize it, it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I want to get some modern stuff happening here.
Yeah, that'd be great. You like Miley Cyrus?
Well, I don't know if I like Miley. I like her as a person. I'm sure she's a nice person. But that video is kind of tough to watch.
Yeah, it's tough to watch her the last 5 years or so. But apparently, I just saw her on, I saw those promotions for the new The Voice.
Oh yeah, she's good in that, I think.
Well, apparently, she just kind of took it back. You know, she kind of brought it an old Miley look back because she's like, that looks like the old Miley.
Yeah, I kind of miss old Hannah Montana.
I think she really just wanted to break away from that.
I understand that.
And
she
used the wrecking ball to go through that transition, I guess.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I was playing at the mall when that was popular and first came out, and I hadn't seen that video. And the manager of one of the stores, I don't want to embarrass him, so I'm not going to say what store.
Right.
He had his little... What do you call those little smartphones? He says, Asaph, come here, I want you to see something. And I was taking a break anyway. And he showed me that video. Swinging in her birthday suit. And I was like, going like this. Am I looking at that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was she? I don't remember the music video because the music videos are just okay.
I'm talking about the music video to that song, yeah.
Really? I thought she was wearing a skin suit or whatever.
Well, maybe it was, but it sure didn't look like it. It looked like she was in a birthday suit. Everybody was going like this, fanning themselves, and oh my goodness. But I guess that's one way to break out of that mode, that Hannah Montana mode, I guess, huh?
But she still has a really young face.
Well, duh, yeah.
She looks like she's
about 22, 23?
Yeah, but her face looks like she's 13, 14 years old still. I guess that's why I never really was into the whole Hannah Montana, all that stuff. It's just it's just another darn kid.
Well, I tell you, I have this Hannah Montana book. It's like a puzzle book where I just have it at home as a collector's item from the show. Somebody must have thrown it out or whatever. It just has pictures of the set of the show and the characters on it. And I thought that'd be worth keeping. Just collector's item. It's in my living room sitting under my television. In the little drawer section there, out of sight. So how have you been?
Me, personally? Yeah, just pretty good. I started a new shift here at MCAT, so I'm going to be working a block schedule with Christian. So 1 week I'll be working Tuesday, Thursdays, and the other week I'll be working Wednesdays, Fridays, and me and Christian will switch.
And you're still going to be doing Wake Up Missoula, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I just 9 more hours of work.
Well, if I'm saying that right to the TV audience, for those who don't know what Wake Up Missoula is, I describe it as a news program.
Yeah. I describe it as a talk show.
Council, yeah, talk show. They do city council
Yes.
news and
Yeah, and
current events.
I was just watching city council on Wednesday, from yesterday, which, and of course I don't know when this is gonna air. And one of the bigger topics is that they're gonna be changing like breweries or taverns from conditional use properties into permitted use properties.
Okay.
So basically that means that if they get permitted, they can actually build a tavern or a bar at like residential areas.
Okay, I see.
But it's all about permitted process because
And that's gonna be pretty permanent, right?
well, it's part of our Missoula, which is the inward growth policy that Missoula has implemented. And in a way, if you really think about it, like having a bar in your closer to where you live is probably a lot easier for people because the whole like idea of having the whole suburban grid is so weird because you have to drive like across town to get to a bar, and then when you drink, you're not supposed to drink and drive.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I live on the other side of town. It's like, might as well get a taxi. It's like, it's like when people made cities, people didn't really think about that.
Yeah, really.
Like when they made the railroad back in the day, because basically towns sprouted from railroad stops and all that stuff.
Okay.
They would always have everything close nearby. So if you're like you live right near where you work, and it made sense for people. And then like in the 50s, there's a huge push for suburbs. It's just to get away. Gas was cheap. Everyone could have their own car. And that's why they had suburbs.
So that hasn't aired yet. That
it has aired, and
has?
I'm doing a review on it. I'm going to be talking about it more on the morning show on Friday morning. I think it's really interesting about how the dynamic between commercial and residential has always kind of been separated. Not because it's like a personal thing. It's more like just like it's just kind of how it has been in the last like 60, 70 years.
Okay.
But
cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird. Like public transportation and like transportation in general is just like you have to like travel 2, 5, 10 miles to get to work, which is completely unnecessary. If you
don't some people live outside of Missoula and then they just come into Missoula when they're working? They do that. Like in San Francisco, a lot of people do
in
that.
Montana are like even the federal government has the USDA loan that also encourages people to move into rural districts. Like you get a better loan if you get a USDA loan for living out in rural Montana, so like the suburbs and stuff like that.
Okay, I was going to ask you, how long have you been working here at MCAT now?
I've been working here officially since 2012, but I started coming to MCAT in 2005.
Well, let's talk about the history of Wake Up Missoula. Did you start that?
No, it was actually started by Josh Minnie because he wanted to do his own show. And he has any show that Josh Minnie wanted to do had to have the word current in it.
Oh, okay, I see.
He wanted to do like Wake Up Current or Current Missoula or like that. He started to do Currents Missoula.
Okay.
Missoula City Current. And
that was his original title?
That was his show he actually did. That was like a once a week, once a month type of show he tried to do.
Okay.
Like kind of like a news type program. I kind of ran the tech for it for a couple times. It was okay, but he was just so kind of like spread so thin because he was working at KPAX too at the time.
Yeah, I can see that.
But now he's in Bismarck. He's basically kind of has the same job I do in Bismarck. And he does his that city current. He does like Dakota City Current.
Dakota News. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so he talks about government stuff mostly.
That is so cool.
Just like a quick government report.
And so it just eventually turned into Wake Up Missoula from there?
Basically it was just like a morning show or whatever. It was me, Josh, and Noel. You jumped on board, and then of course Josh left after a while.
I remember that, yeah.
He probably left about a month or two after you joined up. Because that's when he got his job in North Dakota.
Yeah, well, see, when you guys first invited me, I didn't think I was gonna ever be on that show again.
I thought you invited yourself.
No, I didn't. You guys invited me.
I was just like, yeah, if you want to play piano, you play piano. I was just like, whatever. I don't.
Yeah, and I started coming all the time. I took it really serious. Actually, that show's a delight for me. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I like all these.
Do.
And I like all these like fun little segments we come up with and things we do. I'm trying to like figure out a way to like kind of keep things like fresh and new.
I understand.
A lot of times it's always like, okay, everyone expects this thing to happen this week, so I'm gonna actually keep doing that this week.
Yeah.
City council, I'm trying to do a little more city council.
So that's why you were talking about maybe doing some more current people instead of the people in the past. Originally, when I did the people from the past, well, like Noel told me, it was just.
Well, you can do people in the past. I just just try to think how it has relevance towards today.
it
Like if they're gonna
probably
like remake a movie or remake
Okay,
a song,
yeah,
like like before there was a current Latin American singer, there was this Selena. All this stuff.
Yeah.
And I like how you did it with the Olympics too. Like during the Olympics, you did all this great stuff for the Olympics.
Well,
and it would have been really cool.
Going on, yeah.
And it would have been really cool because I remember back in I think it was either 2000 or 2002, like the Winter Olympics or whatnot.
Uh-huh.
That Pavarotti, the one of the three tenors.
Oh, Pavarotti, you're talking about.
Pavarotti.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sang "Oh Canada" for Canada, and that really stuck out to me in my mind.
Yeah,
So-
that's quite a song, that old Canada, the Canadian, was it a Canadian national anthem, is its title? Yeah, I'll play that for you.
Well, I'm not Canadian. You can't play it for me.
Well, I'm not Canadian either, as you can see.
It's a good song. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of national anthems are pretty interesting.
Let's have fun
There's
with
like, there's always an annual competition in the European Union for their national competition. Do you know that?
I didn't.
It's like a Singing with the Stars, and they always choose the best song that year to be the European Union anthem. So each country makes up their own song every year to come up with a United Nation of Europe's anthem.
Okay.
So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I think it's like in the spirit of competition. Rather than like fighting with weapons, they fight with music.
Here's the conclusion. Now you know we have to do ours too. It wouldn't be complete without doing ours,
Do you remember who wrote this song?
Francis Scott Key, I think it was.
Was it? I think it was back in the War of 1812, I believe. And
Yeah.
like he was just hanging out, and like there was like the huge battle during 1812, and the flag was still there when he was looking out there. It's like this would be a good song.
I think the war stopped temporarily too while they were doing that, singing it.
Yeah.
And here's the conclusion. There we go. Yeah, do them both. Canadian national anthem. But it's not the same. I mean, every time you do somebody else's anthem, I think you have to end it with yours.
Yeah. You always have to do your anthem.
Yeah. And, speaking of anthem, I always thought that America the Beautiful should be our national anthem. But that's just my opinion. I know some people might frown on that idea.
There's so many anthems for America for sure.
Yeah.
John Philip Sousa made like 500 of them. It's like, oh yeah, this is a song. It's like, oh, John Philip Sousa, that should be our national anthem. It's like, all my songs should be national anthems.
Yeah, well, he just came up in a time where he was just writing song after song.
Yeah,
the Semper Fidelis is probably the most popular one.
Oh, yeah.
It goes something like this.
It was,
sorry.
what was the, is it Over There, the Army? Over there.
That's the,
Or Navy.
no, I think that's the Air Force song. I think that's the, I can't think of
Because I
its title.
played like when I was in when I did city band, we have like that one song where we play a little taste of all the
Let me see if I can figure
all
it out.
all the military branches.
That's the Air Force song. Something like that. Something like. Something like that. I think that's the Air Force song. I can't think of its title now.
Nah.
I'm just going brain dead here right now. Something about the Wild Bee Yonder or something like that, the Air Force song. And then the Marine Corps hymn goes something like this. I'm sorry. Something like that, the Marine Corps hymn. You know, this is a true story. I was playing at the mall one year, and I had just started playing that, and I was doing a more fancier version of it, and I didn't notice that there were two young Marines in full uniform, and they walked right up to the piano, and my first thought was, oh man, I know these guys are going to lay into me for doing that, and they stood totally at attention.
Yeah.
They did not move until I finished that song. And then they kind of smiled at me, and I was thinking to myself, I'm glad. Because I didn't want them to think I was making fun of them, because I wasn't.
No, definitely
It was
not.
just a coincidence.
When you play that song, it is for their benefit, for sure.
But I didn't see them when I first started playing it.
Wow.
Well, because, you're in one position, they were like on my backside, and then they walked up, and I saw them out of the corner of my eyes. I started playing it, and they did. They literally stood at attention until I finished that song, and then gave me a little smile, and they walked off. Young guys, boy, these guys looked like they could bend a tree. Their uniform was just immaculate. Just shoes shine, buckles shine. It's just like in those movies, and it was pretty cool. So I was glad I was able to accidentally play that for them. And I'm glad I didn't get in no trouble either, so that made me feel good. But no, they just, I think they might have been recruiting at the mall that year. I don't know. Can you believe it? This is going to be my 6th year coming up, playing at the mall.
Wow.
Time just flies.
When are you going to start?
Probably the end of September or maybe mid-November, something like that. I've been preparing for it. Get that Dance of the Sugar Plum Fair. I want to get that.
Get the Miley Cyrus song ready?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to get that Miley Cyrus song quickly. I've just been working it out recently.
Have you tried writing it down?
It's easier for me to figure out how I want to do it first, and then I write it down.
Oh, okay.
Just to avoid the confusion, because if I start writing and I don't have it, I'll end up throwing out a lot of paper. So it's just easier if I just sit down in front of the instrument and just, I might come up with a little introduction, something like that. Anyway, I'll figure it out.
I can totally like that it starts a melodic like that, and then you have then you lay down a chord.
Yeah, I just gotta figure out what chords I'm gonna use, and I have to listen to that enough times.
The nice thing about a lot of those pop songs is that they only have like 3 to 4 chords in the whole entire song.
And there's a universal system too, depending on what key you're in. But I just gotta figure it out, and I will. But see, the point I'm making is I want to update some of my material. So I thought that Wrecking Ball would be a good song to update if I can figure that out. And maybe some Taylor Swift songs, and I guess maybe some of those songs that they play on The Voice. But some of those are already cover songs.
Right.
So I've got to just dig into their albums that I think are current that people can relate to. And I think people are going to like this piano version when I figure it out. So I'm working on it. I'm working on Miley Cyrus' Wrecking Ball piano version of it. I'll get it. And I'll just do it in the same key that she sings it in to make it easier. Speaking of Miley, you never know what that young woman is going to do, say, 20 years from now.
Oh,
what kind of humanitarian thing
what kind of person
might...
she's going to be in the next 5 years.
Well, the reason I'm saying that is because I saw an interview with her, and she was puzzled how there are people who can't feed their families, yet she can get on a concert stage half-dressed and make $1 zillion dollars. And that's messing with her head, according to this interview. And who knows, maybe she'll take that fortune she has one day and really put it to good use. I don't know.
You never know.
Well, with her just asking questions
She's a young
like
working
that.
girl. And
I know, and I realize
and
that.
that's how most people react to those kinds of things. It's like, well, you're really famous for doing this one thing, but did you know that that people are dying? It's like, yeah, well, what?
But that's always been going on. If you think of life, there is so much, what's the word, inequities in life. You ever thought about that?
Yeah, there's a lot of inequalities.
Yeah, I know. It's like somebody can make like $500,000 just doing one thing, and others have to, really scrape the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
And I've always puzzled with that myself. Why that is, I don't know. It just is. That to me is a mystery.
It is interesting.
It's a mystery in life. And I struggled with that too. Because I used to, when I was growing up and I was taking a lot of piano lessons, I used to think, how come I can do all of this? And then there's other people who just lucky if they can find middle C on a piano. Of course, I wasn't making $1 million like Miley Cyrus, so the point that I'm making is that must really be messing with her head. How this young woman, 23, can make all these millions of dollars, and there's people and around the world, and she said this. So I think maybe she'll take her fortune and start helping people like in Africa or China.
I mean, you can only throw money at an issue, and
I know.
Most of the time it just doesn't stick.
And another side of that too is even if they send money, I think the dictators intercept it.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily the dictators. It's like a lot of times if you give the people the means to not do anything, they won't. Like you give them money, and then a lot of times it's like a lot of people. It's a system because people like working the system. People know how to work the system, and it seems like they give like X amount of money for doing nothing. Like there's some welfare programs where it's just like, well, I can get a job for pennies on the dollar, or I can get X amount of money a month for doing nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand life myself.
Yeah. Well, like I don't know. It's interesting how like life shifts and life's like all kind of like like it's all surrounds the dollar, the money, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And how people are just like, I need this amount to trade for this thing and all that stuff. I don't know.
That's inequities of life.
Because it's like nobody can be. A lot of times you can't really truly be self-sufficient. Because then you'd have to get like build your own house in the woods. You'd have to cultivate your garden. Like, how do you get all that stuff prepared?
Yeah,
like,
really.
You have to chop down a tree, and then the tree's too heavy to move. You're just like, okay, I guess I just chop it up into even more sections, stack it on each other.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be done like in a month if I do it by hand.
The other side of that too about inequities, if you see somebody who's blessed, the other side of that is to rejoice with their blessing and say, hey, congratulations, so that jealousy doesn't creep in.
Right.
Just the thought, And some people, they get their money
it's like
through inheritance or maybe some lucky thing happened in their life.
It's like this. It's like like you're at a certain point in your life and you see someone who's considered below you in a way.
Yeah.
And most of the time it's always apathy. You're always apathetic towards them. And then you see someone who's doing better than you and just like, oh, good for you.
Yeah, you don't want to be jealous of someone's blessing. That's where I was going with that. If somebody's like Miley,
but
for example.
jealousy is a feeling, and a lot of times feelings, you can't help feelings. A lot of times you can like try to mask them. You can try to like say like, oh, good for you, good job, I'm proud of you. A lot of times like some people
you'd be like going home at night like,
it really,
you don't want to do
really
that.
It's based on who you are as a person. Like if you get jealous from that, that's that's just kind of testament of what kind of person you are.
Yeah, and see, I don't like get jealous of people, but I do notice the inequities in life. It's just strange to me.
There's sometimes I get envious of people who have who've struggled. I'm envious as like you've struggled to go to college. You've struggled to do this, and you've made it work for you. And like I like that in some people. I like that they had a struggle to go through that because it kind of reflects on their character of how genuine of a person they are.
Yeah, and some people just breeze through school. When I was in high school, boy,
some people go to school because,
oh my goodness.
Well, I just graduated high school. Might as well go to college, and they don't know what to do when they're in college. They don't have a plan.
I think
they don't have a goal. It's like people.
Right.
It's like difference between like, it's. I think it's okay to be jealous or envious, but you should be envious of people who have goals. A lot of times, people who have like you should be able to be like, oh, like I wish I had like that certain goal or whatever in my life.
Yeah.
Because jealousy really helps you compete, and compete helps you succeed a lot of times. It's
I see. Yeah, I see where you're going. But I'm talking about in a bad way. You don't want to.
Oh yeah, you're just like I want to bring this person down to make myself feel better.
Yeah,
like,
you don't
why
want
do they
that.
have to be up here? I'll bring them down to my level.
Yeah, you don't want that. Yeah.
That's the worst part of jealousy. That's the bad part of jealousy is where you're trying to tear someone down.
Yeah, I know, and I never want to do that. You know, I never wanted to do that. You know, they Duke Ellington. I don't know if you would know him. Famous band leader of the past. He was saying a thing about Louis Armstrong. He said Louis Armstrong was a guy that was born poor, died rich, and never hurt anyone along the way. That's a beautiful thing for someone to say about you.
Yeah.
You know, think about it. So, as I was saying, yeah, you know, you don't want the bad jealousy where you want to tear someone down or try to destroy them because of their success.
And speaking of a lot of the old jazz guys back in the day, they just did a documentary about Miles Davis.
Yeah.
And apparently, when I was watching the trailer, I was like, this guy's kind of a character, wasn't he?
That's how history is portraying him.
Yeah, I mean, like, Don Cheadle's playing him, and
yeah,
I love Don Cheadle. Don Cheadle's, like, good in everything he does.
I know, I like him too.
He's one of those actors who just, like, steals every scene he's in, and it's just like, why aren't you getting everything in these movies? Like, you're in everything, but yet everyone I kind of feel like he gets the shaft in a lot of things.
You know, speaking of Don Cheadle, now that he's played Miles Davis, you know, he can play a little trumpet now. And he was on the Tonight Show with the Tonight Show band, and I know he wasn't like technically as proficient, but I think he did a good job, and I liked it. Mm-hmm. It was fun to watch him.
Like
he was like doing like what Doc Severinsen did, you know, on the Tonight Show. Don Cheadle was like the front guy, even though the other guys were doing their stuff.
Yeah, and another really good actor turned actor musician type is Jamie Foxx.
Yeah,
he's a great musician. He's already had a history of musician and musical background.
Oh, yeah.
He's Ray Charles, and honestly, one of his most underrated roles he's ever played was in the movie The Soloist.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he was in that.
With Robert Downey Jr.
I remember that.
And
yeah.
he was a celloist, and then
that's right. I
he was
remember
homeless.
That. Mm-hmm.
I think he's not homeless now, but he has he's kind of out there in a way.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what he's undiagnosed, schizophrenic or whatever. Based on
there's a lot of that going around. You'd be surprised. Goodness.
And well, he went to Juilliard, and they had this whole story about him, and it's really interesting about like the dynamic. Which also is bringing me to my next point, is that apparently the University of Montana School of Journalism just hired somebody who was editor-in-chief of the LA Times, the ones who have printed that story probably back in the day as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that would be an interesting thing to ask him about. Because, yeah, I think it's a really good movie, so if anybody wants to watch like a really nice, heartwarming story with which talks about some heavy issues about homelessness, The Soloist is the movie for you.
All right, I'll keep that in mind.
No. Have you ever seen it yet?
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
You have to see it. It's really.
I haven't seen it all the way through, but I know of it.
It's really good.
Yeah, but no, Don Cheadle.
The music's beautiful.
Both those. Yeah.
Everyone just does a great job.
I was doing your Mendelssohn for you again. Remember I did on your show yesterday? He said, "How dare you play Mendelssohn?"
and Jamie Foxx is another one of those actors who are just like he's kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
In some movies, it's like wow. And then other movies, it's like, I didn't know he could do that. Like Ray Charles.
Well, the only thing I didn't like about that Ray Charles movie, and what I don't like about a lot of those kind of movies, they harp so much on their bad habits and dark side instead of their talent. And that's how I felt about that Ray movie. I still liked it, but I think they should have focused more on the artist Ray Charles instead of the personal side and stuff. And I think they tend to do that.
A lot of these movies have to humanize.
I know, and I realize
and that's the thing about movies is that you have to find a way to relate to them.
Yeah.
And that's why what gets people engaged in a lot of those movies. Because if you're just watching a movie for the like fun, woo, whatever, and like people, critics are really bad about that because they like a lot of times people don't watch movies to enjoy them. They watch movies to connect with them. That's what it is nowadays. It's like everyone doesn't really concentrate about how fun a movie actually can be. Like like back in the 90s and 80s, old Steven Spielberg. It's less personal. It's all the personal hints are like kind of subtle. You see it if you watch it the second time. It's like, I didn't know that character was an alcoholic in that movie. I just didn't notice that.
Wow.
And then later on, it's like, and then when you're younger, you're just like, okay. that's like a lot of the movies like really awesome, really cool. Like E.T. It's like it's a boy and his dog or a boy and his alien.
Alien, yeah.
It's a fun little story where the kids are just like, oh my god, and like Drew Barrymore's like, ah.
Yeah, that was a funny movie, that E.T. Let's see if I can figure that out. Something like this.
That song always kind of felt like it stole from Star Trek in a way.
Really?
It
You
was-
talking about the 1960s?
The kind of the feeling, though, there was like the feeling behind the music was always.
I
Kind of felt
guess
like it's
with
Star
that
Trek.
rhythm part, yeah. I guess you got a point. I don't know how to do that, something like that. But yeah, you got a point. I never thought of that. Never thought of that. Oh well. So much for E.T. Yeah, that was a fun movie. E.T.
Yeah.
Go Home.
I
I'm
thought
sure
it was,
they'll do
it
it.
was super weird because like the one thing I always remember from E.T. is like when they rebooted it and remastered it or whatever,
Uh-huh.
they exchanged the guns in the very last chase scene to radios.
Oh.
It's like shotguns, and then
Okay.
they just switched them out, like using CGI into radios in their hands, and it was just like, huh.
Yeah, I gotta ask you, do you have a personal favorite movie?
Personal favorite movie would be A Christmas Story.
The new remake one?
No,
Oh, the original one you're
A
talking
Christmas Story.
Oh, okay.
Remember Ralphie.
about? Okay, I
Well,
just wanted. Well, there's so many remakes. And
There was
stuff,
never
so.
a remake.
Not of that one.
No, they never remade that one.
Oh, okay.
The
That's
Christmas
that.
Story is an original.
Well, I know
piece.
they made
It was
the,
like in Milwaukee. They're all hanging out having Christmas. He
remember,
wants
yeah.
a BB gun. He shoots your eye out. It's one of
Well,
my
they've
favorite
done
movies.
like remakes, like the Charlie Brown remake, the 3D version.
Oh yeah, that
and
one
they
actually
did-
was pretty good.
Yeah, it was. And then they did the remake of The Grinch with Jim Carrey.
It was
You didn't
okay.
like that one, huh?
I thought it was okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Like Jim Carrey is just like he's either too much
Yeah.
or he's just in the way.
Well, he got started on that. What was that TV show?
It was
Living Color.
In Living Color.
Yeah. And I thought he was kind of amusing then.
He was really like off the wall, like
Yeah.
all over the place. In
So
that
I can
show.
see why he made it. So, but you didn't care. You didn't like the Grinch that much. I liked it. It was all right. Yeah. Oh wow.
It has a good story.
Yeah,
You
it was
know.
just like the book. They just added some more things to make it, like you're saying, people relate and stuff like that. Like that scene at the beginning when those Who kids were climbing up the hill to touch the Grinch's
Right.
door for their girlfriend. I guess that's relatable in a way, in a small way.
Right.
And then they get all freaked out and they slide down the mountain. It's the Grinch. And oh wow. But no, I'm sure they'll be repeating both of those Grinch movies a few months from now. So we got about 5
Oh, yeah.
minutes left.
Yeah, okay.
See, some 30, 40 minutes have almost gone by.
Really?
Yeah, time just flies.
Woo.
It just flies when you're talking. And I appreciate you being part of this. So it's more interesting when you have someone on the show, I think. So what are your future plans before we,
Future plans, like how far in the future?
well, I don't know, say 5 years from now?
Make
Well,
it,
you graduated from college and you're
Yeah.
working here.
Mhm.
You think you'll ever go into journalism as far as like
full-time journalism, like
yeah.
KPAX, local
yeah,
news station,
or
bigger, or whatever.
maybe like NBC or
Yeah.
something? one
Well,
day? You
if
think
I
you'll
do
ever
that, I'd probably just run tech, like all behind the scenes and running like a director.
So
or
you
whatever.
wouldn't want to be like
and
a
yelling at
news
a lot
anchor,
of people.
huh?
It's like point the camera at the person, point it.
So when we see you like, when the news goes off, you see these guys in the background.
Those
camera,
are the
like,
Florida
doing a countdown.
managers.
Yeah.
They don't really. They just listen to the director. And I'll be like, okay, count them down in 5,
4, 3.
and then they put their hands up and do that.
Yeah, so you don't think you'll ever be a news anchor?
I can only do so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think you will do a
I'd have
great
to go
job
to,
on
I'd
your
have
show.
to go to do additional speech therapy because I have issues with words.
Well, you would never know it watching your show. I enjoy it though, really. I really enjoy that Wake Up Missoula show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is such a delight for me to be able to be a small part, and I enjoy watching you two when I'm
it's a
playing
nice
too.
little fun show, and
It is.
Yeah.
It's great, and I hope
I always
you guys will
want
keep
to
it
I always
going.
want to do more with it. I just don't know how I'm going to do more. You know.
Well, okay, you got your Hallmark and Bullmark, and
Yeah.
then you've got what was
So
the
if you
name?
guys don't know, I do a
Yeah, go ahead,
section
tell 'em.
called Hallmark or Bullmark. It's I do
Yeah.
every Wednesday morning. Asaph usually plays like a background music that like the Young and the Restless or Bold and the
usually that
Beautiful.
one, the Bold and the Beautiful,
And I read a synopsis from a Hallmark original movie, or do I? And that's how I always introduce it. And it's Hallmark or Bullmark, so you guys have to determine if it's real, it's Hallmark. If it's fake, it's Bullmark.
Yeah, that's fun. And what was the other one? The latest one?
Oh, the Tales from the Weekend.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to that one.
I'm still getting used to that one too, because the last one was like 4 pages long of like me talking. I'm just like.
So you had to write that?
I wrote it, like typed it out.
So that instead of the audience guessing on that one, it's just more.
It's just me just telling a story. Me just trying to express my creativity and just making things up.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I'm taking from my old days, from prior to professional Scott to college worthless Scott.
Well, hey, if it works on your show, that's cool. Yeah. Well, I think your show seems to be doing very well, and it's growing, from what I can see. Yeah. And I enjoy it too. It's just really cool.
And like what you're saying, like 5 years from now, I don't know. Like I like MCAT. I hope MCAT will be at the library if the library bond.
Oh, that's right. You guys are gonna move there. They're moving this.
I really want MCAT to be more of an educational media outlet center, kind of like what MAPS does in Hamilton.
Yeah.
But that's I'm not gonna express a little more about that. But just like a media center.
Yeah, that would be cool. And then more people. It seems like it'd be more accessible in the library, wouldn't it?
Yes, and it would. Yeah, definitely more accessible. More foot traffic. More people maybe doing shows, or maybe just getting involved with.
Well, I tell you what, if you guys ever go there, maybe I'll start playing the piano at the library again. Because I did that for months.
You did.
Yeah, it was just.
Asaph is always open for gigs and stuff like that.
Yeah, so but this was just kind of something.
Where can people get a hold of you?
Just my email.
What's your email?
It's asaphaDonai@hotmail.com. That's spelled ASAPHADONAI@hotmail.com.
Cool. Yeah, you just have to go there. That's how you can get him to play for you guys at your cafe.
Yeah, well, that's what they did at the library. No, really, when they first asked me to play at the library, my first thought was, oh, there is no way in the world this is going to work. Because, the library is supposed to be, like, quiet, right? So the management of the library at the time, they actually had that piano down on, where that cafe is there? And then, of course, the web alley is right there. Yeah. And I was thinking, oh, this is...
Well, you got yelled at, didn't you, a couple times?
A couple of times, but it was like 95 to 96% of it was positive. Because they had these little, what do you call it, papers where they were asking people to voice their opinion. So that's why they kept it going. And I was surprised.
Well, hopefully,
if
the library does change and like the new library has like a nice little section just for that, like a hangout place where you can be as loud as you want.
That would be different. Yeah, I can see that.
Well, the library, the idea is that they want it to be more of a community gathering center more than just like a library. Because sure, they have their library section where people can just hang out and read, do stuff like that. But I think they're trying to figure out a way to streamline books so they can just as simply check out books, because most of the time nobody really reads at the library. People usually check out the books and just go home and read.
Yeah, or it's just everything's so computerized now these days and stuff like that. Well, Scott, I guess it's time to sign off here. 40 minutes have gone by. That's enough time here.
That's enough time for a show?
Yeah, I think so. Well, let me do some acknowledgments here. This is Asaph Cafe, and the premise of this show, I just invited guests every week and they talk to me. So Scott sat in with me today in the cafe. And again, Scott Ranf is the host of Wake Up Missoula, and that comes on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's live at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then it repeats at 2 p.m. in the afternoon on channel 189 if you have charter, right?
Yep.
And I think you have, it's MCAT.org too, right?
Yes.
Is that video on demand?
Yes.
Okay, so you can check out Scott's show with Noelle McAvoy. And hello, Noelle. She's not here, so I thought I'd say hi to her. Any final things you want to say?
Nope.
All right, well, then in that case, thanks for tuning in. Till our next show, Maranatha.
Thanks, Asaph.
My pleasure. And I'll do this familiar theme here. Just like your show. Well, make yourself at home. I'll shut this down.
All right.